My name is Mac, and I'm a program coordinator on the safety and well-being team. And today you guys are going to get a live demonstration on how to make a shepherd's pie with cauliflower. And so just as a few pro tips, make sure your microphone is muted during the presentation and your camera's turned off. And then if you want to right-click our screen here, you can pin us and you'll just see Jason's screen during the demo. So I'll be on the back end watching for questions. If you have any, type those in the chat box. And I'm going to let Jason take it away, but enjoy.
Hi, everybody. Glad to be here. As Max said, my name is Jason Jones. I'm the operations manager here at Boise. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to start with the cauliflower. We're just going to put that in the boiling water, trim it up, and cook it, and then we'll start with the rest of it. So I'm just going to cut off the bottom here, cut it in half, and then I'm going to cut out the core, so it just leaves the florets. They just break up nice and easy. And so when we're cooking the cauliflower, we don't want to cook it too long, or else it'll absorb a lot of water, and it'll make it harder for it to brown up. So I already have water boiling over here. All right, then we're going to move on to our beef. This is just a top round sirloin. So I'm going to start and remove all the fat off of that and any silver skin or gristle in the center. Cube it up. So you can use any cut of meat that you'd like. Sirloin is usually not fatty, it'll just have an external fat, but it's not marbled, so it has a little better health benefits, not as much saturated fat. But it is going to be tougher, so that's why we're going to simmer this, and then also cook it in the oven to kind of break down any tissue, the more fibrous tissues. So this is 1.5 pounds, and then there is a recipe on the safety and well-being website, so you guys can follow along, make it at home. So now that I have it cleaned up, I'm going to slice strips. And from there, then I'm going to dice it up. Is everybody able to see this? All right, so I have a saute pan over here heating up. I'm going to add some oil. I'm going to go ahead and throw this in right here so it can start browning while I finish up the rest of this. Those sound good. Okay, so now while the beef is browning, I'm gonna go ahead and start dicing up the vegetables that is gonna go in next. So we're gonna do carrot, onion, and celery. So I'm going to show you guys a little trick with a vegetable filler. So it has two sides on the blade. So if you go up and down while you're filling, it cuts it the time in half. Fun, right? All right, so then when dicing ground vegetables, if you cut it in half, it'll keep it from rolling and make it safer. So I'm just going to dice these in like 1/4 inch. Does everybody know the claw grip? So when you're holding a knife, we'll just talk about knife grip. So the pinch grip, pinch both sides of the knife with your thumb and forefinger, and then grip the handle. And then when cutting, you'll want to use a claw. So that way you're using your knuckles as a guide, and then you won't cut off the tips of your finger. Pretty easy, right? So for the onion, we're going to cut off the ends. I'm only going to use half of it, so cut it in half. Setting this part aside, I'm going to throw these away. So I've seen a lot of different ways to dice an onion. Some people slice it down the side here. And then slice it this way. And then dice it. That's one way, but then you're left with this, which you can utilize it for stock, or you can just chop it freehand. I'm gonna go ahead and show you another way with this other half. So onions, they have the natural layers there. So what I do to save steps is just cut it like little half rings, like so. And then I'll take my knife and I'll just kind of go along the contour of it, roll it over, and cut it. And then with the natural layers, it'll just break apart. So the beef here is cooking, not quite there. Go ahead and give it a stir. Take a couple celery ribs here. Trim off the ends. So in French cooking, carrot, celery, and onion is called mirepoix. Usually it's double the onions of the carrot and celery, or equal parts of the carrot and celery combined. So the ribs, I'm just slicing them down. And then with the claw grip again, we're just gonna dice them. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and take off the cauliflower and strain it. I'm just going to let that sit in the sink and drain up as much water as we can, and then I'll press it just to get a little additional water. So we're starting to get a little more caramelization on the beef. That's going to add flavor. You can see on the pan too, and that's all good. We're going to add some garlic here in a moment and thyme. So I like to add the dry herbs towards the beginning of the cooking. It'll help release some of the flavor. If I'm using fresh herbs, I'm going to add that at the end so that way I don't cook the flavor out. And the same thing with the garlic, since the garlic, actually, no, I need my veggies next, don't I? All right, now while that's cooking, we're going to go ahead and work on the cauliflower. And I did forget my food processor, so we're going to chop it all by hand and mix it that way. So show you some techniques on, like if you're mincing garlic, how to get it finer. We'll do the same thing with the cauliflower. So from here, I'm just going to do a thin slice. Once again, using the claw grip, making sure to keep my fingers and my thumb out of the way of the blade. Using my knuckles as a guide. So another thing, if you're vegetarian, vegan, instead of using the beef, you can use some mushrooms, portobellos maybe, nice and hearty, take on a lot of flavor. And then you would substitute the beef base, substitute out the beef base for a vegetable base. And if you're gluten-free, instead of using flour for the roux, you can use cornstarch to make a slurry. We have any questions? All right, so now that I have that slice, I'm just going to do a rough chop, rocking my knife back and forth, keeping the my left hand on the tip of the blade just to keep it weighted so it doesn't come up. And so that technique that I was talking about, like for garlic, is that you can take your blade and just kind of smash it. So that's going to make a smoother finish. So the purpose of this class, you guys would want to put this in a food processor and pulse it. You don't want to over pulse it. It'll release too much of the water and it'll become, just want to have a nice mashed potato consistency. So today, during this, it's going to be a little more grainy than what we would normally do. But I hope everybody gets the idea and the intent of how we want to make this. So we would add the butter and the milk, but we're going to go back to this here. So my veggies are soft, Onions starting to get translucent. Celery softening up. I'm gonna add my garlic. So I'm just cooking the garlic until I start to smell it. It gets very aromatic. I don't want to burn it. I'm gonna add a little more oil. And we're gonna make our roux in there. I don't think I have that on the recipe. So maybe write that on your notes. So roux is fat and flour. Could be butter, could be bacon, bacon fat, whatever you prefer to use. In this instance, we're using olive oil. So as the flour and the oil incorporate, it's going to get kind of gummy and gluey. Your veggies and your meat are going to stick together. And when it's all incorporated, I'm going to deglaze with some cherry wine. And feel free to use whatever you like. If you want to use red wine, Marsala, balsamic. We're going to deglaze the pan. We're going to use that liquid to get any caramelization that we have, any of the fond. It's going to just flavor and add layers to our sauce. So in the hot pan, the quarter cup is going to cook away pretty quick. It's also going to start to thicken up with the roux. So on the recipe, I have to use a stock. Today I'm going to use some beef base, but you're more than welcome to use beef base, beef bouillon, whatever you have. Don't feel that you need to go out and buy stock. So I'm just going to incorporate this in. I'm going to add some cold water. And adding cold water to a hot pan, it helps it so the roux doesn't become lumpy. If you add hot liquid, it will have a tendency to get lumps. So our liquid, it's getting incorporated into the roux and thickening up. So I'm going to reduce the heat, and we want to let this simmer for about 20 minutes. The reason for that, it's going to tenderize the meat, let it get soft, but also it's going to cook the flour taste out of the roux. I don't know if you guys have ever had gravy and it tastes floury, kind of bland. That's usually the reason why it wasn't cooked long enough. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but sauce is thickening up, and as it simmers, it's going to thicken up even more. If you need to, you can add a little water to it, a little more broth or stock to keep it from going too dry. And then towards the end of the simmer, we're going to add our green peas. We don't want to overcook them, so that's why we wait till the end. Any questions at this point? So I'm just going to cut the butter right in here on the cutting board since I didn't bring my food processor. But once again, at your house, you don't want to do this. And I'll leave the milk out of there just because I don't want to make a big soppy mess. But the fat and the butter is going to help it brown on top. Once again, the cauliflower is pretty moist. And so it's not going to want to brown up as nicely as what potatoes would. And when doing this recipe, you're more than welcome to substitute the cauliflower for mashed potatoes. Or if you want to use the cauliflower, you can add some diced potatoes in the mixture. And what Irish don't eat potatoes, right? So in the recipe, I have to put this in a plastic bag. And so I'm not going to demonstrate that today because what this course is, what this is, it's not going to pipe. But so you put it in the Ziploc, cut off the tip of it, and then you would fold it up, twist it, and you'd be able to pipe this out just to make it look a little nicer, nicer appearance. But so now we have our mixture. It's nice and thick. We're going to go ahead and put the cauliflower on top, spread it out nice and even. Looks something like that. So now we're going to go ahead and put this in the oven. I have the oven set at 350 degrees. So we're going to put it in there for about 20 minutes until it becomes nice and GBD, golden brown and delicious on top. And there you go. That's what you get. Finished product. Cauliflower is nice and brown. I'm going to go ahead and put some on a plate so you can see what the internals looks like. And there you all go. Josie, you want to try some?
Yeah, give me mine.
Come on.
Got a fork?
Oh.
The ultimate test. Thank you. This smells amazing.
I hope you like it.
It's really good. I recommend it. It's nice.
Thank you, everybody.
Jason, we do have a question.
Okay.
Can this be made ahead and then frozen?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I would keep it maybe separate. But the mixture, it should hold in your refrigerator for 3 to maybe 5 days cold. I prepared this one earlier and made it just so in the oven while I was doing the demo. Yeah, it should freeze up nicely. The moisture or the freezing process could take out some moisture or add extra moisture. And so it could keep it from browning, but as far as flavor, it should be fine.
That's great. It smells delicious.
Mm-hmm.
It smells
How was
amazing.
it, Josie?
It's great.
Can I try it?
Yeah, you bet. Yeah.
Okay. I just posted if there's any other questions in the chat box. So we'll give people a few minutes to ask and then we'll hop off.
Sounds great.
Okay.
I can't believe how quick it cooks. Literally 2 seconds in the oven and out.
Wow.
Wasn't that amazing?
How do you do that?
The magic of TV.
That's good.
Thank you.
I like it. Okay, are there any other questions? We are recording this or have recorded it, so we'll be sure to share in the Champ team later today for you all. But if there's not any other questions, thanks for hopping on and we'll see you at the next one.